Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody always asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. I'm going to do that by breaking down the mindsets of guests and my own to figure out what makes people say, why not? Do you want to start taking up weights but you're afraid of getting bulky? Do you look at all the women now in the weights room and wonder how they've managed to do it? And have you heard of all the actual health benefits for women when you actually train weights? Well, if not, or if you do want to know a little bit more about this is the episode for you. Today, I'm going to talk about the benefits of weight training for women, and there's a lot more than you'd think, and by the way, you won't get bulky. So, as ever guys, I just want you to sit back and relax or walk and listen and enjoy today's episode. I don't want to get bulky. Hello guys and gals. Okay, I'm aware that this episode is directly, mostly aimed at women, but sure lads, you could learn a lot from this too if you want to listen to, so it is open to everybody. Today's episode, I don't want to get bulky. How many times have you said that? Or have you said that? Or have you heard that? Or have you heard someone say that about you training weights as a woman? Today, I'm going to talk about why it is actually really beneficial for women to train weights and why you can't get bulky. So, well, you can get bulky to be honest, but I just want to talk about this a little bit first. So, I think growing up, for me in particular anyway, I saw the narrative. I don't know if it's still out there because I don't follow anyone who would push that narrative anymore. So the narrative I was sold was women shouldn't lift weights because, we want to be skinny and weights will make us not skinny. It'll make you bulky, and the only time you should do weights, you should be doing tiny, teeny weights like 1 or 2 kilos for 6,000 reps because that will tone your muscle and it won't make you bulky. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Anyone in the back there? If this does sound familiar to you, this probably means you grew up when I was growing up. I don't know what it was like in the 80s, but in the 90s and 2000s, this was kind of the narrative sold. And I'm really glad now that when, at the moment, the kind of idea is being sold, like, being strong and big glutes and stuff like that, when people are actually training weights now instead of avoiding them. But I still think there is a little apprehension in, I would say, my age group and above in doing weights. Thankfully it seems to be breaking down a little bit, but anyone new to the gym and any PT who was working the gym has probably had this conversation with a new client or a someone coming in to do a gym program and saying that they want to do this, this and this, but they don't want to get bulky. And the thing about it is, it's very, very, very difficult for a woman to get bulky from weights. And we seem to think that if we just look at a dumbbell, we're going to turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'll tell you now, that's not going to happen. Because I'll tell you what more. I've been trying for years and it's not happening. And when people say that to me, I'm like, I wish, honest to God, I don't wish to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like, I've been trying, believe me. And the thing we take out of context is you may see a woman bodybuilder who is shredded, I'm not talking about a fitness model. I'm talking about the ones that are absolutely huge. They look like men in the way their body is shaped as opposed to like their face. So I'm saying like their body construction looks like a man's body, and you look at that in isolation and all you see is, oh well, they do weights, if I do weights, this is what will happen to me, which is completely out of context from how long they've been training. So many of these women have been 10 plus years training weights, the intensity they're training, the level, like, you know, how hard they're pushing it, how often they're pushing it. And also the third thing being drugs. Sorry, I completely blanked on that for a second. A lot of women in that who look like that will not tell you, but they're on steroids, because the fact of the matter is, biologically, women do not produce enough testosterone to actually look like that in any format. There is some women who do have higher levels of testosterone than others, which can lead to some more masculine features like broader shoulders and stuff like that. But to get to that extreme level, you have to be on steroids. And this goes for the men, by the way, as well. Like the high level bodybuilders, like, you know, performing, they are too. It doesn't matter what they say. I'm not naming names here, but they are, okay? It's just part of the culture there. It's part of, like, you know, they take their supplements and they take their extra supplements. And I'm not here to get into a conversation on whether or not that is right or wrong or anything else, but it's just a fact of life, and that is part of their thing. So the thing about it is, the women getting to that aren't doing it naturally, and the men getting to that aren't doing it naturally either. So you thinking you're going to pick up a dumbbell and look like them is not only really, really far from what could happen, but it's also, again, it's nigh on impossible without a little bit of help. So I think we need to remember this when you're looking at them and kind of going, you need to take it into context, like how long have they been training, what way, how often do they train, because like you doing 3 sessions a week is not going to cause that kind of change. And then the third thing we have to think about, as I said, is what are they on to get them looking like that. And it's just something to think about next time you're trainer or someone in the gym or you're in a class and they tell you to go for a heavier weight and you go, so that was the first thing I wanted to say before I started this, because it is a conversation I have had many times with many different people, and I'm sure, as I said, most trainers have, and we do have that little kind of you know, preconceived notion that's what's going to happen. I like to use myself as well as an example, because I am quite lean and toned, but you know, I wouldn't consider myself bulky, and I'm quite small and people don't consider me bulky either, and I'm like, yeah, well, look, I can squat over my body weight, I've deadlifted nearly double. I'm trying, it's not happening. But okay, and the other thing as well, the tone, that's one that I want to say, is like, I don't want to get bulky, I just want to tone my muscle. Here is a fact that you may not want to hear, but toning is building muscle. All that happens when you tone your muscle is you are building muscle. So by saying you don't want to build muscle but you want to tone, you are indirectly saying, I don't want to build muscle but I want to build muscle. And that is just a fact as well, and that can be done with heavy weights, with light weights, with body weights, with bands, all sorts of things. But I think we just need to remember that, yes, when you say you just want to tone up, you're saying you want to build muscle. You want to lose body fat and build muscle, because you can lose body fat without toning and you will not look as well as if you do put the muscles underneath. It just gives you a bit of a better look. So I wanted to say that as well for all of you people who are saying there, yeah, okay, fine, that's cool, I'll do weights, but I just want to tone. Toning is building muscle. It is the exact same thing, and any good PT will tell you that as well. They will not try and say it's otherwise, and if they are saying otherwise, question them. Okay? And by the way, if they say, yeah, we can do that for you, we can just tone, they know it means building muscle. They're just saying it because they don't want to get into the argument. I'm sorry if you didn't want to hear that. Now, let's get to the main bulk of the reason I am doing this, and I want to talk about the benefits for women and strength training, okay, which is strength training, weight training, any of the above, resistance training, whatever way you want to label it. Now, by the way, strength training doesn't have to be crazy weightlifting feats. Strength training can in fact be body weight stuff, okay. If you're not used to doing certain exercises, like, right, let's just say an example, like a push-up or a pull-up, they're body weight and they involve a lot of strength. So that's just what I wanted to say, that strength training, as I said, is not just about how heavy you can lift, okay. It can in fact include body weight exercises. So the first one I wanted to bring in, because I wanted to show there is obviously loads and loads of benefits that are kind of physical, or you know, that kind of, like, it's not physical, but say for instance how you look and all about the aesthetics. There's a lot of them here. I don't want to talk about them first. I want to talk about the actual benefits you will get, as opposed to, yes, you will have a bigger bum, you will have nice arms, you will look class when you look in the mirror. I want to move away from that, those kind of superficial goals. Not superficial, but you know, cosmetic maybe is the word I'm trying to say. And I want to talk about the actual physiological benefits, or benefits that you will have when you start strength training. Okay, so my first one I wanted to say is you're going to feel stronger and make daily life more easier. So basically, these are the little things that people always forget about, and then every so often they'll notice it and they'll be like, oh wow, because you're too busy focused on the aesthetic goal. But little things like carrying the shopping is going to become easier, bending down to pick up your kids going to become easier, climbing the stairs, and that it's going to become easier. And it's a really underrated one, because people say, how many people say like they're out of breath after climbing the stairs, right? You get to the top of the stairs and feel grand. So, you know, as well, for us all strong independent women, we don't need no men. The stronger we are, the less we have to call them men. You know what, you'll be opening jars everywhere without even having to call a lad. It'll be grand to you, you know. But you know, that's a small thing. But like that, like, you know, if you have to take a heavy box down that suddenly, or lift it up, you might find that a lot easier. You'll have better form lifting them. You're less likely to, like, you know, put yourself out doing these things. If you, as I said, like you're moving furniture, things like that, it's all going to become easier. Now, I don't know how often you move furniture unless you're a removals person, but I'm just talking about different things in daily life that come up that you may have needed help with before. It's going to become a lot easier for you to do if you're doing strength training. And these are the kind of things that you generally don't notice for a couple of months, because you'll be focused on other things like your aesthetics, and then suddenly you're like, oh, hold on a minute, that was way easier than I thought it was. So that's just one. First one, I just want to talk about that, because how it improves your quality of life and improves how making things easier for you and not needing as much help is just really, really important, I think, and really, really needs to be highlighted more than you will look skinny. Right, number 2. This is one that I think falls over a little bit into the aesthetic side, but also something that's quite beneficial as well, is you have a higher metabolism. And okay, so for those who don't know what metabolism is literally how your body functions with everything. That is a really bastardized way of saying it, but that's basically kind of what it is. So your metabolism runs everything. Your metabolism is the amount of calories you need to live. You know, it involves that, keep yourself functioning alive, as opposed to you know, dead. And basically, when you have more muscle mass on your body from strength training, it takes your body more effort to function. Not more effort, but it needs to be fueled by more calories. So calories aren't just those evil things we have to avoid to lose weight. Calories are the basis of all energy in the body. So all calories go in, get converted to energy and get used. So the more muscle tissue you have in your body, the more effort and the more calories are needed to fuel that body. So what I'm saying here is you can eat more and still maintain a good lean physique. And the more muscle you build, as I said, the more it needs to be fed. And the other thing that comes into this as well is when you're recovering from a weight session. So when you're doing weights, you are literally tearing the muscle and it grows back stronger, bigger, larger, whatever. And that is how muscle building works. You tear the fibers and they grow back bigger. And I'm not talking about a big, huge muscle tear like a hamstring injury or something like that. I'm literally talking about the little micro tears, and the fibers grow back stronger. This is where DOMS comes from. So if anyone has ever been stiff after a workout, this is called DOMS. So it's delayed onset muscle soreness, which is those microfibers swelling and repairing. And that's why you're stiff for sometimes a day or two after training a weight session, or training something you haven't done in a while, even going for a run or a long walk. If you're stiff and sore, that can be that as well. It's not lactic acid that is actually happening when you are training. That is carbs that are stored in your muscle converting to be used for energy, and that causes lactic acid, and that is the stinging at the time that drains out of your body in a couple of hours, and then the pain you get after is DOMS, and it doesn't go away until it's healed. So so basically that is your muscles. When your muscles are repairing, they need more calories to repair. So there you are again, your recovery, you're burning extra calories. So say for instance, it raises your metabolism for up to 72 hours after training, because your muscles need more calories, more protein calories obviously, to repair than if they had not done it. So basically it's great because it means the more muscle you have, the more you get to eat. And take that with context, by the way. Don't just say you can eat everything around you. Obviously we want to try and fuel as well as we could and have nice amount of protein, carbs and fats. And doing that, we're not just going to eat like a shit ton of donuts because, well, I can eat more calories now. We do want to maintain that muscle, so we do want to fuel it properly with protein, and you do want to get your carbs in too in order to help recover, because if you're not eating enough carbs or even fats after training, the calories will be taken from your protein from the muscle and protein, and will be used for energy instead of repairing the muscle. So remember, carbs are good for you, and our fats. So it's all about being balanced. I'm not saying just eat all protein after training, but high protein, few carbs for recovery, and all your good fats, because women, we need healthy fats all the time. It's part of our hormone system. We need them to support our hormones, so don't avoid them either. Okay, now let's go for number 3, which is a lower risk of injury. So I spoke about DOMS there for a while. I know people always are like, oh god, I'm sore, I've probably overdid it, and the fact of the matter is you probably didn't. And if your body is not used to doing those exercises, this is going to happen. It happens to me every time I change a program. I'm hitting a muscle from a different angle, same issue. So do not worry. Obviously, if you've got severe DOMS starting off, it might be an idea to rest a day or two and do not hit that muscle group again to let it recover. But otherwise, do not worry about training. It is nothing wrong with you. It is just part of life. But how does this make you less likely to get injured? Well, muscles surround all of our joints. The stronger our muscles are, the more supported our joints are, which then leads you to less likely to have any joint injuries. Now, this also can help with anyone who has any joint problems. So if you have, say, arthritis or osteoarthritis or any kind of weaknesses in your joints, it can be very beneficial for you to actually strengthen the muscles around the joint, because it will, as I said, support the joint and going forward help you with less pain. So when it comes to that, like, you're better off not leaving it alone all the time. Now, you want a specific program to work around the joint. There's no point if there's certain movements you can't do and forcing your way through it, but like, we want to strengthen that as much as we can, and it can help alleviate pain over time. You know, it makes you less likely to fall as well, you know, and falling leads to injuries sometimes. So, you know, if your body is more supported by muscle from strength training, it makes you less likely to fall and hurt yourself, unless you're someone like me who walks into stuff or trips over stuff all the time. That is clumsiness, and that can never be fixed. But when you fall, at least you've got a bit of cushion and you're less likely to hurt yourself, because your joints are all supported when you impact. So yeah, that's a good one. And then the third thing I wanted to say on this point here as well is that it also helps you it also helps correct muscle imbalances. Okay, now obviously if you're training one plane of movement all the time, it can create muscle imbalances, but we're not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about our posterior chain and our muscles all down the posterior of our body, which is not just your arse, it's your whole back of your body. And because of the way we function and life and everything, our muscles in the back muscles, basically everywhere from our shoulders to our arse to our hamstrings, they tend to be weaker because there's not a lot of stuff we do to strengthen them. A lot of our stuff, anterior muscles, which would be your chest, anything in front of you, tend to become a bit more stronger or used more, and this, as I said, can cause muscle imbalances. Common things can be shoulder pain and lower back pain. Lower back pain is a lot of the time tied to weak glutes, which are the muscles in your bum, even despite that being the biggest muscle in your body. But we sit down a lot and we don't use them very often. So this can help. So a lot of people think, you know, if you've got pain, you rest it, whereas sometimes pain is a weak muscle crying out to be strengthened. So using muscles, like, you know, doing back exercise, back of our shoulder exercises can help open up your chest muscles, improve your posture. Strengthen your glutes can help really with lower back pain and hip issues. And this is why it actually becomes very important to strengthen these muscles, because as I said, we sit down a lot. There's not a lot of things we do with these posterior muscles, and by getting them active and strengthening them, you can actually reduce pain in your other muscles or your body, because as say for instance, I said lower back pain is a lot of time weak glutes. It's not actually your back. So remember, just because the pain is somewhere, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually in that area. Referral pain is quite common, and pain doesn't always mean a tight muscle. Sometimes it means a weak muscle that needs to be strengthened. So when we do the strength training with a good program that is like balanced, and you're not focusing on just one thing or one part of your body, you can really help these muscle imbalances and improve your pain, and as I said, reduce risk of injury, because these weaker muscles, or even like can be more prone to injury because they're weaker, and it's going to be easier to damage them. So that's a few different reasons as to why, you know, lower risk of injury, supporting joints, all these things, why it's quite important for women to strength train, and men. This is one that goes across the board here, but I just wanted to bring that in because I know there has been like thought to just rest, but in certain some situations, rest is the last thing you need to do. And this one, number 4, is my most important one. I kind of saved the best to last here, and this is very, very, very centric to women, and it makes your bones stronger. So resistance training and strength training, as I said, resistance training can involve body weight, increases bone density. Now, women are 4 times more likely to get osteoporosis than men, and they're also 2 times more likely to get osteopenia. This is because we have a drop of estrogen. Our estrogen production drops off during menopause, which can actually end up making us lose bone mass and bone density. So having this, like, another thing women win with, but this can make us more likely for these kind of issues, as I said, osteoporosis, osteopenia. So a lot of women already are learning this late in life. We're only learning this kind of more now the last 10-15 years, so they have to try and take up strength training now to help reduce these problems and strengthen the bones, because you can reverse it, but you do need to work on a program and try and bring it back. So osteopenia is a precursor to osteoporosis, and we need to bring it back. Also, very beneficial to be doing this obviously pre-menopause, because these are the years that your bone density is formed, and if you are not feeling yourself right, training right, it does put you in a much bigger danger of these issues and having these problems. So even if you are in your 30s, your 20s, or pre-menopause, it's a good time to start, because we want to start building that bone density, thinking of the future. And I know I'm the same, like, people my age, I'm 30 and younger, we're not thinking about that far. We're not thinking about our 40s, we're thinking about like pints at the weekend. But these are things you kind of have to think about, because it's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And I know your 40s and 50s and menopause seems years and years away, and it is, but you're better off starting now and having that in place for when it does come around, and you're not sitting in a doctor's office and they're telling you, right, you need to do this and this because you've got osteoporosis or osteopenia. And it's one I'm really passionate about, because the thing is, it is hard once you have it to get it back. I know family members, it runs in my family, it's very, very common in women. If they're dropping estrogen at menopause, we have this like 4 times more likely than men. Like, it's a big thing, and you need to be thinking about it. Whether or not you want to think about being old, you need to think about your quality of life when you're old, because if you have one of those diseases, you have to be very, very careful with what you do, because what it does is it makes your bones brittle, which means if you fall, you're in a higher risk of injuring yourself. Broken hips, broken anything, broken, like, you don't want to be tripping up and breaking your hip because you didn't bother doing strength training when you were younger. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's little things that we can put in place now that help you for the future. And I know this is one thing I'm really happy about seeing, that the gyms and strength training for women has become such a big thing, and girls training has become such a big thing, because they don't know it now. They might be thinking, yeah, I have a great bum, but they don't know it now, but it's going to stand to them when they're in later life. And it's really, really good. And if you are already in that kind of place where you're osteoporosis, osteopenia, it doesn't mean you can't reverse it. You need to just, take doctor's advice, do some strength training, do take doctor's advice on this, because obviously they are more qualified than me, and build it up, and you can reverse it over time, but you need to stick to it. And if it is something you're coming into your late 30s, early 40s, you are worried about, now is your time to start. It's never too late to start, because if you get ahead of it, life is going to be a lot easier when you're older. As I said, this is a thing that'll affect your quality of life. You don't want to be afraid constantly of falling, because you might end up breaking something because you've got osteoporosis and or osteopenia. You want to build up that support system, and then, as I said, you'll have that like strong base around your body, so even if you did fall, you should be okay. And that is what I would call my benefits that I think are more important than are as I said, aesthetic benefits. And I just want to run through them a little bit as well, because they are there. There are aesthetic benefits too, and like, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about them. I'm just saying it's more important to focus on the actual physiological benefits as opposed to how we look, because I think too much of the exercise industry and fitness industry is posed on how you look and being skinny and all this other stuff. Maybe not being skinny, but being a certain body type. And I just wanted to show you that there are other benefits that we gloss over a little bit too much, I think, because of we just don't think about it. So here are some of the other effects of weight training that are a little bit more aesthetic, a little bit more outwardly focused. And well, one of them as well is boosting your mood, which we all know exercise boosts our mood. It releases serotonin in the brain and makes you feel good. So why don't you get that from your training? And it'll make you very, very happy and feel good about yourself and feel buzzing for life. It'll also make you more confident. Okay, and this goes back to me saying about us opening jars on our own and ain't need no man, but also, like, if you ever look at yourself and you see some muscle definition in the mirror and you're like, damn, yep, I look good. Yep. And I have done that, and I always find I prefer that look to the cardio look, because you can, like, there's actual muscle. No offense to people who do cardio all the time, but you can see the definition, you can see your work paying off. So I think that's always a really big thing. Really good to be able to see your work, the hard work you have put in, paid off over time. So, and then you feel stronger. So like I said, like, you can take on things yourself. You don't feel like you need to ask for help for things. Feeling stronger helps boost confidence. And the other thing is you look leaner. And there's a difference between lean and skinny. So lean is low body fat, and skinny was kind of low body fat as well. But you can see a difference between someone, personally I can anyway, who is lean because they weight train, and lean because they are a high intensive cardio person. So say for instance, like, I'm not this neither, but like, you're looking at the likes of maybe a fitness model versus a someone who marathon runs. Like, marathon runners take up so much of their energy with their cardio and stuff like that. It does eat their muscle as well. So they're very, very skinny, very thin. And I'm not dissing them as well. I'm like, how the hell do you run for that long? But there's a difference when you see the definition of muscle, and to me, I like that more. Some people might not. That's totally okay. But when you do like a lot of cardio, it eats your muscle quicker, and so you kind of end up with more, in a sense, fat stores, so it doesn't look as defined, and that's what I'm talking about. And whereas when you are lean because you weight train, you can see the definition of the muscles, and it's a nice shape, I think. I know it could just be me. Remember, this is for whatever you enjoy. I'm not telling people to give up the cardio, by the way. Cardio is very beneficial, but for different reasons. It's not the be all and end all of weight loss. I did talk about this previously in the last episode a little bit. So yeah, that was all of them, I do believe. I think I've covered everything. If there's anything I left out, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know what you thought of this podcast. Do share as well. I like to see them shared, see how you're getting on, how you're finding it. And guys, if you are looking for me, you will find me on Instagram. It's Chrissy H Fitness. You will also find me on TikTok under the same name, and you can find my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. If you are looking to do any kind of PT or online coaching, do give me a message. I'm happy to help where I can. Always happy to answer any questions, DMs as well. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this explains to you a little bit more the importance of weight training and how it's not all about aesthetics, though there are some aesthetic benefits, but there are so many other benefits for us as women to do it and take it on and enjoy it is the most important part here, because there's no point doing something that you don't enjoy, because you won't do it. And I know this as someone who takes up things I don't enjoy regularly, and I give up very quickly. But as ever, guys, thanks a mil for listening, and I really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you again for listening to the Why Not podcast. It really means a lot that you are listening in, and I would love if you could please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or subscribe on Spotify. And always, I'd love to hear feedback personally, so if you do want to leave me a message and let me know how you found the podcast, please do.